Hello, my friend. Hey, it's February the 8th. That's what day it is right now. Monday morning here at Maranatha Baptist Church in Oklahoma. It's going to be a cold week here. I want to give a shout out to the missionary out of our church, Brother Bobby Harjo and his wife, Tracy, 20 years starting churches up in the Four Corners area to the American Indians. And I always want to say congratulations, Brother Bobby, for all the hard work that you've done up there and continue to do. What a great testimony. Greatness is not measured in years, but it's measured in decades. My friend, you're doing a wonderful job up there, and I'm so happy for you. Had a great day here, Maranatha Baptist Church on yesterday. Good night, Lord bless. It was a cold day, but the buses were full. The auditorium was full. All of the services were full. People saved, people baptized. What a great service last night we had. And boy, I wish you could have been here. And it was a whole lot better than watching a football game, I'll tell you that. And I'm glad that we had church. I'm glad that I have people that I can pastor who believe in church. And so hopefully, if you missed church, shame on you. You should have been in church. And I'm glad that you're listening in this morning. I want to read to you this morning from Mark chapter 8 and verse 5. The scriptures, Jesus asked them, he says, and he asked them, how many loaves have ye? And they said, 7. And when Jesus asked the disciples how many loaves they had, he was not interested in how many loaves everyone else had. He did not say how many did they have. He said he was only interested in one thing. How many did they have? The disciples had not yet learned that it was not the amount of bread that God needed, but it was the fact that what they had was all that he needed. Jesus needed the disciples to give to him what they had before he could show them what he could do with the little that they had. Now, we often get focused on what we don't have compared to what somebody else has instead of staying focused on what God can do with what we have. You see, when I took over the church here at Maranatha Baptist Church, I didn't have fancy buildings. I didn't have a lot of people to preach to. We were a smaller church. Our buildings were old. And I'm not saying anything critical of anybody. It's just the fact of what we had. But I had buildings, and I did have a small group of people that God could use to do something miraculous here in Oklahoma City area. So what I love about what God has done through our work here is this. What he gave me, we used it, we just got busy, and God has multiplied it and continues to grow what we have more beyond what we could ever imagine. In almost 3 years, God's just about tripled the attendance here, if he hasn't already. And it's just amazing what God's doing here. You see, it's because we didn't complain about what we didn't have. We don't have the fancy buildings. We don't have the fancy buses. We don't have the large congregation. We took what we had and we said, hey, let's go do something for God. And God is blessing that. Now, my friend, do you see where you are and ask the same question that the disciples asked? From whence can a man satisfy these men with the bread here? Now, you must understand that how you look at what you have is not how God looks at it. God sees how he can multiply the little that you have if you will trust him enough to give to him so that he can multiply it. If God is going to take what you have and multiply it, there are several things that you need to do. If God's going to take your loaves and multiply them, first, realize that God knows what you have before he asks you to give it to him. God knows that you may not have much, but God wants to see that you can't do it without him. God will continue to let you fail on your own as long as you think that you can do it. God wants you to come to the point where you realize, I can't do it. I need something else. I need more. I need God. And that's what God wants to see. Second, stop looking at what others have and use what you have. Just because you don't have what somebody else doesn't have doesn't mean that God can't take what you have and make it better than what others have. You see, what we see that others have is not what they had when God asked them to give their loaves. You don't have to have what others have for God to bless your life miraculously. You just have to give what you have to God for him to bless your life. God cannot do anything with what you have as long as you compare it to what others have. Now, third, you must trust God and work with what you have for God to multiply. God cannot bless you until you start working with it. Now, Pastor, let me ask you, are you complaining because you don't have the buildings and the people that others have? Then work with the buildings and the people that you do have and watch what God can do through it. Believer, you may not be as talented as other believers. And do you think that you're a nobody because you're not as talented? Can I just tell you, why don't you take what talent you do have, give it to God? God just needs what you have for him to multiply and do the miraculous through your life. Now, God's not asking how many loaves that others have. Always remember that. He's asking you, how many loaves do you have? Now, stop letting how you perceive what others have intimidate you. My friend, God's God. He's your God. He can bless you like he can anyone else. And you're going to see that if you'll give what you have to God, God can bless it mightily. God can use it. If you just trust him, give it to him, and he'll help you out. Hey, my friend, I hope this is a help to you. Let me remind you, we've got the Old Paths Conference coming up now on Friday. I misspoke about the date, March 15, 16, and 17. I want you to come to that. Not that long away. And you can register, attend mbc.org/OPC. You come be a part of the great Old Paths Conference this year. And remember today, be good to everybody. Everybody's having a tough time. Have a great day, my friend.